Gene is known as a trailblazing, innovative athlete who has earned national and international recognition. He's a two-time NCAA champion, two-time national AAU champion, champion of the World Cup Games, the Pan American Games, and the Great Plains. Gene Mills has won championships in the Soviet Union, Cuba, Europe, and the Far East. A member of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team. In winning the 1980 World Super Championship, he was voted as the most outstanding wrestler. The intensity of his physical training is shown here as he works on his bodybuilding exercises. He takes himself to the limit in everything he does. Those who know Gene Mills describe him as a free spirit, a genius in the sport, one who displays a playful arrogance while maintaining a total commitment to excellence. Gene coaches at Syracuse University, and here he runs the upper level of the Carrier Dome Stadium. The solitude of his training points out the individuality of the sport. Wrestling is a combative sport of individuals. In competition, victory depends on you, and you alone. Your talent, your knowledge, your strength, and your drive to win. Off the mat, Gene is an affable person, a dynamic personality with a genuine interest in others. On the mat, he's ruthless in his quest for victory. These traits have made him a champion and an outstanding coach. Gene often does his road work in a cemetery which is located near the Syracuse University campus. This environment allows Gene the solitude he wants. While he conditions his body, he concentrates on his attitude, the winning attitude that separates the good athlete from the great athlete, the attitude of a true champion. His mind races from one wrestling move to another, always seeking to improve himself as one of the sport's finest technicians. Gene Mills revolutionized the sport of wrestling with his near-perfect application of the Half Nelson from the Knees series. In this video program, Gene shares his experience and knowledge as he demonstrates this series.
The first thing we want to do on this Half Nelson from the knees is we want to hit this guy with what we call a spot to the opposite side. And when we spiral right a guy, we're going to jump to the opposite side. Our left hand is going to drop down to his thigh, his near thigh. We're going to jump to the opposite side, and my knee is behind his and about a foot apart. I'm going to straighten my left arm and just pop his hip to the mat. I'm not going to tight waist it, I'm just going to pop it. As soon as that happens, I put all my weight on him. As he goes to get back to his base, I'm smashing his head to the side. If I push it down, he can bridge it back up. If I smash it to the side, he cannot. Immediately, I jump out to the side on my toes, pretty much out front if I have to. But I do not want to stay back here where I am not putting pressure on a man and this man can counter me. So I am out here. The next thing I do is I look at this man like a clock, 12, 6, 3, and 9. I want to take him one of three directions, 11, 12, or 1 o'clock. If I take this man at 9 o'clock like most guys do, I'm going to be putting myself in trouble. I'm here. As I start to drive him, boom, I'm on my back. That is why we do not go at 9 o'clock. Spiral right to the opposite side. My right hand is just posting on the mat as I do it. Immediately, I pull my hand out so he cannot get hand control. Again, I spiral right, take the hand out so he cannot get hand control. I smash his head. He will be coming back to his base. I've got my half on. When I get this half, I do not come underneath the elbow or on the head. I come underneath that armpit. I take the back of my wrist down from the pinky, and I place that low on his neck, and then my hand goes even further down, low on the neck. Not high, low. I have 5 options with my left hand, or my free hand. I can grab a 1-on-1 wrist. I can grab a hook, inside elbow to inside elbow. I can grab an arm bar. I've got a tight waist or a thigh pick. They are my 5 options. Now, I want to take him at 11 o'clock. I start out with the first option of grabbing his wrist. I get out to the side on my toes, not my knees. If I am on my knees, there is no weight on the man. I want to get on my toes so he can carry all my weight. he'll get tired carrying my weight. I drive him at 11 o'clock. As I do this, I'm going to be pulling my left elbow into his side, like that. I'm going to be placing my right hip on the mat. So I drive, I put my right hip on the mat, and I pull my left elbow into him. By doing this, I am going to keep the man stacked. As you can see, I pull my elbow into the side. Here. I do not come over him here. Here he can bridge. I do not want him to bridge. I want to stack him, and I want to stick him. My second option is an inside hook, or inside elbow to inside elbow. Place my hand, boom, spiral right. As he comes up, smash it, start out with the wrist. Now, if I want to get the hook, or inside elbow to inside elbow, I must drive him till he falls on his head and comes to a 90-degree angle. Here, I turn the back of my hand up, straighten my arm, and then pull it towards me. So I've got my elbows locked. Here, again, I am on my toes. I make believe I have 5 American armies. And this is the Russian elbow. And we're going to parachute down. And I'm going to trap the Russian elbow with my right hip. Boom. And I crawl in a tight circle to attack the Russian elbow. As I do this, I am making his... I am tightening up the shoulders right here. Chin's getting driven into his chest. So he is in a very uncomfortable position. Spiral right to the opposite side. Half. Again, I grab the wrist. I drive. As soon as he goes to his side, I get the hook. I want to get the hook before I take him to his back. Right now the elbows are not locked yet, so I got to keep crawling the fingers till they are. Now they are. I've got that one option where I parachute and crawl the fingers. Another option, my right knee goes through the gap, lifts, sits through. As I sit through, I start to sit. I let go of the half, lock my elbows, sit here. In order to put a lot of pressure on a man, I must lift my hips off the mat and drive into him like this. Simple, lifting here, driving your weight into the man's hips. The next option is grabbing an arm bar. Spiral ride to the opposite side, smash the head, come behind for a slight second. Pull the arm bar. Right now, my palm is on his back. I come immediately out to the side. Again, I drive him at 11 o'clock. Very tight. Now, I also have the option of pulling him at 1 o'clock. I put my left knee in front of his knee so he has a pivot point to rotate over. I pull him at 1 o'clock, and I stack him, posting on my head. I could also jam this man at 12 o'clock, where I am going to drive him or jam him straight over. Boom. The next option is a tight waist. When we get a tight waist, we could also consider it a tight hip, because we want to get as low on the waist or the hip as possible. Here, come back, I come low. As I come low, this shoulder is going to be lifted. And immediately I'm driving off my left toe right here to put the weight on the man. But that way I'll get it nice and tight around his waist. Again, I have 3 options once I get this option. Taking him at 11, 12, or 1 o'clock. If I drive him at 11, I'm on my toes here, pulling the tight waist and the elbow into his side. If I want to take him at 1 o'clock, I'm blocking. I drive the weight down here. I block his knee down here with my left knee. I pull him till his near shoulder touches. Then I try to drive it over his head, up here. Boom. Again, I'm using my left elbow to hold him up. The third option, with the tight waist, is to jam him at 12 o'clock. Yeah? Straight over. I'm posting on my head, pulling my elbow into him. When I pull the elbow, I want to pull this way and that way to put the pressure on the man. Our fifth option, the side kick. Spiral right opposite side. He comes back to his base, smash his head to the side. I get inside the side. Again, I have my 3 directions to take him. 11, 12, or 1 o'clock. 11, I drive him. My elbow is holding him up. I could block with my left knee in front of his knee and pull him at 1 o'clock. Pull, near shoulder, then drive it over his ear. Boom. And again, the third option, midnight. Holding him up. The only thing I want touching on the mat is his shoulder blades. Now, what happens if this man tries to counter me? He's got many counters. The first thing you're usually taught when a guy tries to throw half Nelson from the knees is to wing your opponent. If he tries to wing me, I am going to sucker him into putting himself on his back. I'm up here with a half. I've got his wrist. I limp my right elbow. When I limp my right elbow, he thinks I'm a fish. He can wing me. I put my knees down. He goes to wing me. I post on my head and just wait for the referee to call the pin. Again, my left elbow pulling into his back. Right there. So I am limping my elbow. As I limp my elbow, he thinks he can wing. As soon as he goes to wing, I post on my head, help his hips up by using mine, and put him right up there. Now, I could keep this wrist, or I could come in and try and get a hook. I do not want to crawl my fingers out this way, because the elbows will get loose. What I want to do, if I ever get this hook, is to crawl him towards his other elbow in a very tight circle here. Otherwise, you will lose the hook. If he tries to roll me, in practice, I'm sure in wrestling, every coach makes their guys hit a spin drill. And what we are simply going to do, if this man tries to roll us to the opposite side, is simply spin out front. By spinning out front with the half Nelson, he is going to pin himself. Got the half, jam to the side. He goes to roll me that way. I spin out front, pull the elbow into his back. I can secure his head with my left knee. Boom. And here he's set. Smash his head to the side, grab his wrist, he goes to roll me, I spin out front, pull my elbow into his back. I am on my right hip. If he tries to Granby me, it's pretty much the same thing as a wing. I'm going to limp my elbow, let himself put himself on his back. I feel him buck up to hit that Granby. I'm going to limp and post on my head. Pull his elbow towards me. Smash his head to the side. Grab his wrist. I feel him buck up to hit the Granby. I limp my elbow, post on my head. My right hip is on the mat. And I'm pulling his elbow and using my elbow to pressure into him, to hold him up in the stacked position. The next 3 counters is what we call the Midnight Express. If this guy tries to peel our hand, flatten out, or buck up on all fours, we are going to jam this man at 12 o'clock. Smash his head to the side. If he goes to peel my hand, I trap it by smashing my forehead on his hand. That way he can't get his hand out of there. I'm going to make sure I'm out to the side. I am going to make sure I got track shoes on in a race, and on your mark, get set, go. Again, using my left elbow to pull into his back to hold him up in the stacked position. Smash his head to the side. He grabs my hand to peel it. I smash it to trap it. Once I trap it, I jam him. Pull my elbow into his back. He's stacked. If the man goes to flatten out on me, I'm going to take my right cheek and place it on my right hand. I'm going to get up on my toes, and I'm going to jam him at 12 o'clock. Here. Again, using my left elbow to hold him up. Flattens out on me. I put my right cheek on my toes, straight over his head. Pull the elbow. If this man tries to buck up on all fours on me, I sit to the side. He bucks up on all fours. Once he bucks up on all fours, I take my left knee, stick it into his stomach. Oops, excuse me. And I'm going to jam him at 12 o'clock. Elbow into his back. Smash his head to the side. Grab his wrist as he bucks up on all fours. Left knee in his stomach. And drive. 12 o'clock. Elbow into the back. If the man tries to post with his left leg, out to the side. Here, he posts with the left leg. I can't move him. So, I drive into him. All his weight is driving at 1 o'clock. So what I'm going to do is use what we call the crane. We turn our palm back and we turn it up. We catch inside his thigh or down by his knee and we drop to our knees. As we drop to our knees, his right shoulder's going to fall. I'm going to just pull him over, just like a crane. I lift up and pull him over. Again, flatten it out on my right hip. If he gets out of this part with the leg, I've got his arm. But to take him over, we are using the crane. There's his in. He pulls with that left leg. Crane. Back. I drop to my knees. I pull him at 1 o'clock. Settle him down. Using my right hip to flatten on the mat. If the man tries to buck up, we have another option. A half cradle, or semi-cradle. He does it, steps up with that left leg. I'm going to come here. I'm going to lock my inside of my elbow to inside behind his knee. I'm going to hook his bicep. I use my left knee here to pull him at 1 o'clock. Again, he wants to post with that left leg. I'm coming in here. If I can't reach it, I have the crane. If he brings it up closer, I come here. I'm hooking his bicep. I am not grabbing. If you grab, you're going to tense all the muscles in your forearm. You're going to, you are going to waste useless energy. So we're going to hook, block, with our left knee in front of his right knee and pull him at 1 o'clock. Nice and tight. If we want to get that half cradle, and he's got that left leg out there, and it's not close enough, what we might have to do is drive out around front to curl him up in a ball. Here, put close there. I drive this around his head. Hook, block, and pull. If the man tries to sit out, we have 5 options. The first one is momentum. The second one is shoelace. Third one is left limb. Fourth one is the crusher. And the fifth one is a snapback. So I've got a half. I can sucker him to sit out by pulling the wrist into me. He sits out, momentum, keeping his momentum rolling. Posting on my head, driving off this left foot, and my left hip is pressuring into his hip to hold him up in the stacked position. He sits out, I keep his momentum rolling. Momentum. Using my right knee to help him up there, posting on my head, driving with the left leg. Hips. The second option is a shoelace. I get the half, he sits out. I've got a right half, so I'm going to drive towards his right shoelace. If it doesn't go, I drive a little bit more to the right. That is going to put all the weight on his heel. I jam him at 12 o'clock. Elbow. Hold him up. Sits out on me. I drive towards the shoelace, then it's straight over, using my elbow, securing it with the knee, securing his head. The third option is the left limb. If the guy goes to sit out on me, I grab a left limb, which is either the arm or the leg. And what I want to do with it is I want to throw it over his body. I put both my knees on one side, the same side as the half, and throw it over his head. Stack it. Again, the elbow, very important. Sits out on me, I grab that left limb, throw it over his head. The other left limb is if he sits out on me, just grab inside that leg, throw it over his head. Got a half, he sits out on me, I hook his leg. Again, my right hip is down, my left elbow is holding him up in the air. The fourth option is the crusher. I get the half, grab the wrist, he sits out on me. I've got both my knees on the same side as the half. I want to pressure into him so he pressures back. But when I do it right here where my right foot is, I want to whip him around and smash his face on the mat as hard as I possibly can. I drive into him. When he drives back, I whip him. He falls to his side. My chest is on the side of his chest. I stop right here and I switch my chest from side of his chest to front of his stomach. Right here, I drive. Once I get here, I drive my right arm up towards his head. I pull his head underneath. I make a fist. The flat part that's against his back is going to be against my chest, and the knuckles that are sharp are going to be sticking in his chest. I wrap it as tight around the head as possible, put them knuckles in the chest. I still back I do not want to drive him over yet. I can just drive him over, crush him and pin him. But I don't want to. I want to drive him nice and slow. I want him to feel the crushing sensation. So I get on my toes and I start to drive. As I drive, I am pulling both my elbows into my side and sticking my chest out. Meanwhile, my knuckles are going to be driving into the center of his sternum. So I drive, pick him up here. Okay. Can we go to work? So as I go to drive him, I'm sticking the knuckles and squeeze him right here. This little space right here for his head, this little one's for his stomach. And the knuckles are to crush his sternum. Get the half, sits out. Push in, push back. I stop. I readjust. Side of his chest to front of his stomach. Then I drive up. Excuse me, by pulling the head in. Put the knuckles in the center of his chest. Get on my toes and drive very, very slowly. The fifth option is a simple snapback. I've got a half. He goes to sit out on me. I hook. Call him back. Bring him back. Here. I'm just going to let go of my left hand when he sits out. Snap him back. Mashallah. Got the half. He goes to sit out. I snap him back. I've got a simple underhook and an overhook, where I just snap him back and take my little tinny tin chin and drive into him. The next counter this guy could probably try is a step over. While I'm out here to the side, driving off my toes, he could step over my leg. If he steps over my leg, he's got it hooked. But on the other hand, I've also got his leg hooked. Now, I can drive him at 11 o'clock, driving off my right foot. I'm going to end up with a hook on this side. I am going to take my left leg and throw it over his head. Here, to stack him. I take my right foot, hook my left heel, and stretch. Again, I'm crawling my fingers. Crawling them fingers with my left hand. Got it half, he sits out. Oops. I'm sorry, he steps over. He steps over, I drive. As I drive, I switch to the hook. I pull the leg over his head, and I crawl these fingers. Hook this leg and stretch him out. Right here. Steps over my leg. I start to drive him. I get a hook, pull the leg over his head, crawl the fingers. And right here, right foot hooks my left heel and crawl. Nice and tight. The next counter, if he tries to step over my leg, is what we call a Merkle. He steps over my leg. What I'm going to do is I pull this arm out, and it's going to go nice and low on the neck. And we're going to use this sharp bone right down from the thumb. Not this part of the arm, the fatty part. I want the nice sharp part. And what I'm going to do is put it nice and low on the neck. This comes underneath for a patty cake. I'm going to pop my right elbow up. My right knee is going to go forward. As I extend him, I pull him over me before I hit the mat. So here, as I'm coming over, my right hand slides up. So I start out here, it slides up here, right into this position. When I get here, I'm going to use this knife against his jugular vein and squeeze. And if I've got this much space with that knife on the jugular vein, he's not going to be getting too much blood to his head. Yeah? Steps over my leg and hooks it. I take the sharp bone in my wrist, which I call the knife, put it nice and low on the neck. Come here. I must extend this man. I extend him, come forward, pull him over me, switch. This move, this is the move you don't show your mother. Here. And when we get here, we're going to squeeze. Stick our chest into him and squeeze right here. Once we're in this position, we hold him for a 5 count and get our 3 points. Then we go to step over. As we step over, I pull this right arm out and put it at the top of his head, and I'm going to slide this left arm out from underneath his neck. Here. Meanwhile, my chest is bringing his arm over his mouth. He can still breathe out his nose. So we take the top of his head, we pick it up and suffocate his nose. When he goes to bridge, he bridges on the shoulder blades. And he's pinned. We pick that up and suffocate him. So once we're here, we release, come over, slide this out. It's covering his mouth, pick it up, suffocate his nose. He bridges on the shoulder blades. Got my hat, he steps over my leg. I take the knife from here, I stretch him out. Switch the move you don't show your mother. I'm arching into him, driving off this right foot and squeezing. Go to step over, pull it out, suffocate him. If the man knows this move is coming, he can flatten out on his left side. If he flattens out on his left side, I'm going to have a hard time trying to pull him over me. So if he flattens out, I can't pull him over me. So I must change direction. If he wants to go that way, I go with him. So what I got to do is I drive off this right foot, I take this knife, I bring it across his jaw. And I do is I make him look over to the side, and eventually he's going to be looking where? Up at the lights. Boom. So I make him look up at the lights by turning my palm up. Or my bone up. He flattens out on me, and I can't take him over me, so I drive over him. I'm going to high leg over, use my bone in my wrist to crank on his jaw, make him look up. Hit the move, don't show your move. And it's like this, not like this. An important key on this move is I do not try to take him over without extending the man. Because if I do not extend him, he can bring this left arm through and hook between my legs, and I will end up on my back. So I must make sure that I extend him forward. I extend him, my knee is forward, and I pull him over. I slide this right up. Another counter is if the man tries to stand up. There's only one problem with this move. He cannot stand up unless I, the boss, let him. So if I'm in here and I've got all my weight on him, can you stand up? No. He cannot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this left arm, like I did with the tight waist, and I'm going to come back here. My main objective is to get tight around this waist. This is coming up. But I'm just coming right here and going for the tight waist. I don't care about this coming up. By this coming up, he thinks he can stand up because I am taking the pressure off his upper body. As he goes to stand up, I come low and I'm going to pop with my hip. And I'm not going to try and pick him up with my arms. I'm going to pop my hips. As I pop my hips, I'm going to pick my tight waist arm up and put it on my hip. I'm going to pop and put him right here. Now, I am responsible for bringing him down to the mat safely. So I must go down on one knee. I've got a right half on. I'm going to go down to my right knee and put him on a left seesaw. Right here. Now, I do not want to drive him, because if I drive him at 11 o'clock, he will be able to bridge. So I limp my right arm, post on my head, and I'm going to put his near shoulder down first. Now, I do not just place this other shoulder down. Do not place it. I drive it over his head, so there's pressure. Right there. So all the pressure is on his hips. Crown his chest and his chin together. Got a half. Come in here, tight hips. Place him here. I come down on my right knee. I go to the near shoulder, then the far shoulder, holding him up nice and tight. Another counter if the guy tries to stand up on me. I'm going to pop my hips into him and let his lower body fly away from me. I'm here. Whether I have a tight waist or a wrist does not matter. I have my option. He goes to stand up, I pop his hips and pull him back. Simply pop my hips and snap him back. Here, got a tight waist. Stands up, I pop. I'm simply popping my hips. As I pop my hips, his lower body goes out, I step back. He'll be right on his back. He stands up, I pop my hips, come right back. The last counter, if the guy tries to stand up, is pretty much a freestyle counter for the freestyle wrestlers out there. And how I am going to sucker him to stand up is by simply grabbing his wrist and pulling it towards his chest. He thinks he can stand up. He's right. I take my chin, I jam him in his shoulder blade to get him to lean over. That is what I want. I want him to lean over. When he leans over, I'm going to take my left hip and stick it all the way through. I'm going to drop my level. By dropping my level, he starts to lean over. When he goes to lean over, I launch him. Here. Got his head, his wrist. He stands up. I make him lean over. If I do not make him lean over, and I try and step in front here, he turns to the right, and I'll be going right to my back. So I gotta make sure he's leaning over. He leans over, I drop my level, and all I do is by extending my knees, I am going to throw him. Over. Boom. Grab his wrist, pull it up, he stands up. I jam him to lean over, I drop my level. Smash the head to the side. Grab his wrist, pull it. He stands up, I jam him forward. I drop my level, I extend my leg, and he's right over for a pin. The last series on this half Nelson is the simplest one of them all. And I'm going to move this man in an easy fashion. This move is very effective because he does not know he is in trouble until it's too late. And what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to reach right down to his crotch, pull him on my knee. This hand is coming in with a half. This is the only half that I am not smashing his head over to the side. I'm here, I keep his momentum rolling. My left foot is going to be my power foot. I am on my side. This power foot is I'm going to drive off it, pop my hips towards his head, and let him go. Right here. Once I'm in this position, my shoulder is on the mat. I readjust. I pop it up into the center of his chest. I pull his arm towards his head. This hand's underneath. This hand comes on top. Remember, right here, the knife goes on top of his arm so he can't get it. I lift up, driving into him, and I circle him around. As I circle him, he's going to be pinned. I will show you the momentum from start to finish. From here, I pull him, let him go, here to here. I pull him on me, I pop my hip, readjust, pin. By lifting up on it and putting pressure on his head. He cannot bridge. If he goes to bridge, he's going to have to bridge on his shoulder blades. If he bridges on his shoulder blades. Try and bridge. And it's an easy pin. I jump to the opposite side for momentum. I'm going to pop my hips, readjust, pull, and here. Lifting that up. Pull him on me. Right here, I'm going to pop. So I pop him, readjust. In the middle of that move, I am letting the man go. On this next one, we are not. We're going to do the same thing. Here, we go to pop him. As we pop him, we come over. You're also hooking his hand when he lands. We'll come right here. Is that tight? Just squeezing. We're going to follow the man right towards his back. Come here. Right there. And the half, it doesn't have to, you don't have to worry so much about the half. Because right here, we can crush him. Just with that one arm. Right by here, lifting her knees off the ground. Here. Comes with a reverse half, and come in with this half. The last one is a stack. In the middle of that exact same move, we're going to hook his leg and stack him. Right here, we hook his leg and stack. Whether we catch the side or we catch the arm, does not matter. And I'm right here. I pull him on me. As I go, this time I'm going to drive off my right foot because my left foot is going to hook his right foot, his right leg. And he's in the stacked position. We're stopping his momentum in the middle of the move. Pull him on me, right foot, hook his left, or hook his right with our left. One more time. I pull him on me, drive up the right foot, and stack him, using this left hand to keep nice and tight. Pull him on it, stack him. That is pretty much the conclusion to the half Nelson from the knee series. Good luck.
Distributed by American Sports Video, Cayuga, New York.